back in the Crucible. But if No Tomorrow's not there, who is? Because there are still 2 spots in the Crucible. So it's got to be on the back of everyone's mind, that fear. But Tempo Storm, they're coming in. They're not worried about that. They're worried about maintaining their spot at the top of the region. Ready to check into the Battleground pool for HGC. Even in Death have chosen Tomb of the Spider Queen. Last time we saw them on this Battleground, they were playing their Stitches Kael'thas composition, similar to a style of Team Dignitas, although not quite to the caliber of Team Dignitas.
Not a surprise, you know, Dignitas, world-class team, but even in Death, you could see that they have given respect towards not only North American professional HGC, but the rest of the worlds as well on their drafting. They played multiple playstyles. We gave them high praise for that, and I hope to still see that today. It's just, you know, I would much rather see that than run the same composition over and over again. Probably have no chance, especially if you, one of the things about running the same comp is that if you're drafting the same way, it makes it easier to adapt. We talk about the time window to adjust. It's just, I would love to see continuous fluctuation, strategy, adjustments, and then see Even in Death hopefully put up a good game every single time.
Yeah, it was great to see experimentation from Even in Death in their first series of HGC versus Team Freedom. And I echo that. I also hope that we get to see them continue to see what things work for them while they are playing versus a team. They have some time here in Part 1 to figure things out before they really need to make sure they're getting the victories in Part 2 to stay away from Crucible and even to be able to fight for playoffs later on.
Tempo, what do they want to move with this ban? Again, we have never seen Tempo Storm draft post mid-season brawl. It is the same patch, so we should expect close to mid-season brawl. But Tempo Storm, internationally, we heard the teams talking about it, that they haven't performed necessarily that well, and their drafting does remain semi-stubborn. It is a little bit of respect towards what they see internationally, but with Tempo Storm's flavor on it. The biggest thing that I feel like they learned or took from the rest of the world was Chen. Mainly. There was a lot of Chen play coming out from Tempo Storm at the mid-season brawl.
Tempo Storm were drafting compositions that we would look at on paper and say, Tempo plans to play aggressively. And then they did not play aggressively. They were far more focused on the macro game specifically. And that's something that we saw as an evolution for Tempo Storm throughout Phase 1 is into Phase 2, we saw them come out of the gates, or Part 2, aggressively, but even still, they were so focused on not making mistakes. And I feel like this is even something that we have seen in Europe last year, where when I think back to that, like the tiebreaker, right, for being able to go to BlizzCon is a feeling of, I need to not mess things up. And it feels like a lot of North America has picked that up from Tempo Storm. So if Tempo is the leader and leading the charge, then Tempo needs to start going to the next step, the Dignitas way of, we are going to be able to punish.
And I think that is a really amazing talking point, because to stay at the top of a region or to be better than those around you directly is actually, I mean, it's a lot easier than pushing when you have nobody to cross compare to look at directly, to always play into. Because now you're not only saying that these individuals have the ability to learn through just trial and error, that you can essentially predict just off of numbers, off of just rotations and specific things from just studying somebody else. You're like, oh, I know all the whys, I can use it properly and then innovate accordingly within my region. It is insanely difficult. It's something that a lot of people don't, I think, give Tempo Storm enough credit to, maybe even myself. To be at the forefront of a region means you're always pushing the envelope, and that can be very difficult to break that edge. But yes, you are completely correct. I hope that Tempo, their next step is punishment, and just always forcing the punishment. And there is no better team to do that against than Even in Death.
Yeah, force mistakes. Force your opponents to make mistakes specifically.
Yeah.
Use that good macro that they have to force mistakes and then punish them hard for them. That's what I hope to see. I feel like we saw that evolution of Dignitas, and that made Dignitas a world-class team.
Yeah, you're right. Dig was always safe, 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 and they got much better at being offensive later on. But Dig still, you know, Dig still kind of has a suffer of that problem a little bit, but not nearly as bad. Yeah, their performance at the mid-season brawl, as they were claimed to be the Korean killers with their record, it was impressive.
Looking at what has evolved so far in our draft, we're looking at Malfurion, Dahaka, and Li Ming for Tempo Storm. Malfurion after the Uther ban, with Avala Ariel for Even in Death. So this looks very normal, except for the Alarak ban.
Yeah, the Alarak ban is very interesting there. Without seeing a major warrior, I think that's targeting specifically Tempo, just of a fear of maybe like an ETC Alarak combo, or probably not the ETC because he fell off, but Psalm had shown that he can play the Alarak pretty effectively, and that they're willing to pick it into it. It's just that because ETC is so weak, Alarak's kill potential in the 4-man has dropped drastically, which is why it's an interesting ban coming out from Even in Death.
No Tassadar available for Vala, Ariel, Tassadar, not even an Uther either. So now, do Even in Death want something like a Zarya to be able to add shielding to that? There have been some other iterations here or there for that double support, but there's also still something like Stitches Up if they want that. But Genji somehow making it all the way down to this point in the draft.
Yeah, and with so much macro picked up on other roles for Even in Death, the Genji doesn't suffer from the same problems that maybe he normally does as that raw first pick that we often see. So now it's going to have a lot of macro, a lot of wave clear coming up from the other sections of the draft of Even in Death. I like it. It's going to be high execution, and it's going to force a lot of pressure onto him because he is the only high-focused mobile hero on the roster of Even in Death. With Tempo Storm, they've got a dominant 1v1 so far. They have to be considering the 4-man, as Li Ming is not that good into wave clear, and Malfurion struggles there. Johanna taken away. Do they go into the Stitches? A Leo could be an option. We see them pick up too. You can move Leo into the 4-man whenever you have a strong 1v1, and you don't have that good of an argument to put him there into the solo.
I think we could still be seeing some sort of melee assassin in this last pick too. Possibly. There's Stitches. Or
Kael'thas.
I always think, okay, Psalm Heroes, melee assassins,
and then
Kael'thas.
Yeah, it's like
always forget the KT.
It was like Glorong for a while, right? It was like melee assassins and Medivh. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I thought the same thing. It's like doing it. Okay. Oh, but Kael'thas is still a Psalm hero. So good wave clear, good follow-up, and they have the mouth stitches. Li Ming follow-up for the burst. Everything about Tempo Storm's composition screams Team Dignitas.
Even seeing a Li Ming Kael'thas on the same side.
And so, Even in Death now, they know everything about Tempo Storm, how they want to approach this draft. What do they want to pick? Something that can be a part of the trifecta like a Zarya, or do they in fact go with something different? Do they go with a more self-sustaining, can deal with the Stitches hook, is going to be less of an issue for the healing resources on their side? I would like to see them go with Zarya. Not get too crazy with it, mix it up, because I just feel like if they venture too far away, it might be a little bit too high in the execution department for a team like Even in Death.
What about Tyrael?
They go with the Leo. Tyrael would be pretty good.
Spell Armor versus a Li Ming KT composition. Yeah. He's got mobility after a Stitches hook too. He can provide movement speed to whoever else would have been hooked. He has Sanctification as a way of dealing with a lot of the damage to the initial engagement. Tyrael is what I was expecting, but we got a Leoric.
Pretty much how I view this game going is Even in Death is got to dominate the map, just absolutely slay the minions, completely dictate the pace of the rotations, get the first turn in, and succeed with it. Otherwise, Tempo Storm has a composition that one hook, you're dead. They get the rebuttal back. Again, Tempo Storm is heavily favored in this series, so that alone makes it that much more intimidating. So Even in Death, because they have a Leo, they have Johanna, they have very, very poor team fighting. Both of those are not the greatest warriors, especially together. They're like, oh, we want this fight, but it has to drop an Entomb. You have to drop a Blessed Shield. It's the only way they can force it. And so it should just be watch them cycle around the map, take out front walls, and look for the late game fight with an advantage. But if any moment, probably pre-13, if Tempo has a lead, I think it's going to be a very confident game for Tempo Storm.
Yeah, there is the Entomb, Ariel, the ability to hit with Detainment Strike 2 to stun inside of the Entomb, but looking at Tempo Storm, they even have the ability to use the distraction, the chaos caused by a hook, for Dahaka to come in and get a drag, and then they can use the rest of the CC because they have so much between Kael'thas, Stitches, Dahaka, and Malfurion. We're ready for game number 1 on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Even in Death takes on Tempo Storm.
And here in the blue, in fact, is our new team. The first series for them didn't work out, but they hope that this one will. Battery will be on the Johanna, Lutano onto the Vala. Haunwin will be on Ariel. We have Frozen X playing the Leoric. And Genji will be played by Homicidal.
Homicide will put on quite a show in his first series versus Team Freedom. We'll see how he can play the Genji here versus Tempo Storm. In the blue, Tempo Storm with June playing Malfurion. Fury playing Dahaka, Kothenluck playing Li Ming, Som playing Kael'thas, and finally that means that Caterpillar will be playing Stitches.
Which means that's a bit of an adjustment. Stitches in this is considered to be the main warrior of the two, so moving Fury away, whether that's an outlier due to Stitches specifically, or just a trend here for Tempo Storm, an adjustment that they've made since the mid-season brawl, we'll have to find out into the next draft. But I want to see the argument for it. Seeing Fury onto a Dahaka is already a little bit weird, especially for old school warriors. And what I mean by that is warriors that used to just absolutely dominate the meta are typically the ones Fury's the best at. And Stitches is on that list. It's ETC, Murden, Stitches, and then Tyrael are the four that I kind of put as the old reigning supreme champions of the warrior metas.
Yeah, I would add Arthas to that solely because I know he adores Arthas.
Yeah.
Him, but it is different, and it was a possibility that Tempo Storm made some changes. But then again, we just have to wait because it could be the fact that Cattle is the more comfortable or more confident Stitches player.
For now, though, we see in the laning phase, even in Death is not dominating the rotations as heavily as I would have hoped to see from them. They've gone for a 2-1-2 as a soft response to the focus onto picks, right? Tempo Storm goes, we need to get hooks. What is the best response against that? It's almost always going to be a 2-1-2. They split push whenever they respond to top or onto the bottom half of the map. But I do feel like a more confident team would gain more if they commit to the 4-man and just be comfortable dealing with the Stitches with the hook into the 4-man rotation.
Yeah, especially since now that we've seen a lot of Tempo Storm just stay in the bottom, we haven't really seen Even in Death push that top lane super hard yet. Just now are they sending Genji up. Genji's actually trying to slow down the rotation too of Som and Malfurion while Leoric pushes that lane. So hopefully they're able to make this work as Tempo Storm continues their own rotations, hoping for first blood.
Tempo, we're yet to see the combo dream out of them, which is something I was hoping we would see before the 2-minute mark. Again, we had talked about it. For Tempo Storm, they're expected to win. Nice root chain there. They're expected to win, but it comes down to more of just in what fashion do they end up winning. We want to see extreme confidence and dominance from this team because, again, the midseason brawl, confidence seems like the #1 thing that they were lacking when it came to their decision-making, especially in those later and most crucial moments of the game.
Yeah, but it does feel like it's more of a mental block when it comes to the tournament. All things are on the line. Then you play versus Roll20. But earlier on playing versus teams that you have a lot of respect for. The Korean teams, the European teams especially. We've even heard Kothen here when he was third guy talking about the respect that he has for a team like Team Dignitas. In this instance, I'm expecting Tempo Storm to be the dominant team that we know, but so far it's been cautious first steps.
Have we seen a Royal Focus build on Leoric yet in HGC in North America?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have either. I've been trying to keep track of it just because I thought that's one of my favorite things out of all the midseason brawl was, in fact, Wubby's Leoric build. I think it has such a unique approach to specific maps, and I would love to see that implemented here in North America, but it's going to be a bit more of a normal build here for Even in Death and even the rest of the members in North America. Gems sit. Small advantage for Even in Death, but not as big as I expected. Again, they aren't dictating the pace of the rotations. Tempo's getting not much, but again, Even in Death should be taking front walls. They aren't doing that. Tempo Storm's just going to be like, okay, thank you for the soft early game. We'll wait to the later parts and hopefully around to the areas of the Webweaver so we can get that hook combo with the KT.
Another one there for Kael'thas. He's also been stacking up his Mana Addict. It's about halfway there now. He's halfway there. But yeah, Netherwind's increasing the range so that he can ensure the follow-up, as well as Elun's Grace, the standard for Malfurion at level 4 to have that increased range. Beautiful detainment strike. Spells the end.
Caught out, man. That was nice play here from Even in Death. The fact that they're getting the fight back, and now they're going to move through this choke. 3-man blind is thrown down. Lutano just out of range. He be using that hot pursuit. Now he's going to be able to start and stop back in for a turn-in. This is the first Webweaver phase now going over to Even in Death, but again, this is expected according to the composition, but not that kill. You know, the fact that they're even in kills, you would look at Tempo and they have the 3 most deadly, heroes back to back to back. We expected this all game, and they might not even get Battery here.
Oh, Homicidal's doing his best, and Frozen X slows down. Battery gets out. Thankful that it was Johanna and nobody else who got picked there. Got hit by the hook. Battery did take some damage though at the start of this Web Weaver phase. Ready to go back in. Got a 2-3 aggressive approach with these Web Weavers for even and death, hoping to take down as many towers as they can. Open up the forts, get further ahead in experience, hope to get 10 for another turn in.
I really hope that we see Rain of Vengeance for Lutano there on the Vala.
Wow.
Not only for the for the Johanna, I always talk about that's one of the few cases where I go, this is actually worth considering. But then also the Arc with the Entomb. It's a nice follow-up there, perfect lineup. You don't always have to follow up into it, but anytime a 3-man Rain of Vengeance goes down, the Arc's Entomb is a really nice prep for those things. And heroes like Li Ming, KT, they're so susceptible to that hard lockdown. If Lutano picks that up with the level lead they have going for them, I was complaining that it felt like Even in Death wasn't getting as much as I think they needed if they're going to stand a chance in this game. Now, the experience says otherwise.
They got a fort. They're waiting for a mercenary camp in the bottom, but they're not so far ahead. Tempo Storm have a little bit of time as long as they go right now. They see Battery. They're hoping that they can get this pick too.
There's the Iron Skin. Wait for it. Wait for it. Hook. The minions were in the way. They back out. Not going to have it. 10's closed in on. That much closer. Only 25% away now for Even in Death. They're 11 gems away from finding themselves a turn-in.
The two tanks keep a hold of the top turn-in point while the rest can rotate up now. They have those giants pushing in the bottom. Even if they're going to start turning their gems in, but they still need a few more before they can get a second turn-in phase. But still, with heroic abilities now there, Tempo Storm having to play back in their base.
They are, and again, it's only about 2 minion waves away from this turn-in for Even in Death. Tempo Storm is lucky that those 2 waves, again, were not over to Even in Death. If the Web Weavers are up now with that 10 advantage, it would be hands down no forts remaining on the side of Tempo. So conveniently, they will be able to get 10 or at least very close to it before those Web Weavers march in. Now, you see Psalm patiently waiting to pick up the Night Camp because he expects this turn-in to happen. I assume the minute that he sees the turn-in, he's going to capture it.
Yeah, that'll help with the mid.
No, he's going to wait it out as late as possible, so letting the Web Weavers even move in before picking that up.
So if he gets that, does the rest of the team try to defend up in the top? Slow down things here in the mid?
All it's doing is essentially you either commit with all 5 members on mid as a perfect rebuttal.
Forge.
That's just whoever that is, dead or Reno. Iron Skin, Body Block, Blessed Shield, doesn't matter.
Roots, zoning roots, no Ariel. She was hoping to come down and maybe be able to help, but that means a guaranteed kill to start off this Web Weaver phase for Even in Death.
They're going to go top, look for more. The fact that that was all the gems available for Even in Death, that second window, this is where, because they committed to so much wave clear, you would expect them to just dominate the map. Getting that 1 pick stalled out long enough that Tempo Storm has to be very happy with the circumstances they have over the next couple of minutes. They do have enough gems for a turn-in. They only lost one fort after 2 turn-ins, almost a secondary. But again, that could have easily been 3 and maybe a keep front wall on top of it if Even in Death had all the stars aligned.
The top could be pushed in. This Web Weaver is still taking a little bit of time to take out, but Even in Death are wanting to push in the mid. They do send Genji to the top to take out that fort, though.
So this is where we expect Tempo Storm to try to force the turn-in, look for staggering deaths with the KT, Stitches, Malfurion, look to get a secondary turn-in directly after that, and at that point, it should be like a keep. That's the weather forecast for them in a dream scenario.
Are Even in Death confident to fight Tempo Storm, the #1 team? Well, they're going to have to.
Root. Laps.
Aegis.
And he's dead.
Oh, Twilight Dream, and he couldn't do it, couldn't save. Now Crystal Aegis.
Fury came in there with the flank, the drag, and now the adaptation's going to proc. He's about 1 auto away. Another hook there. Lutano doesn't make it out. 3 members dead. Tempo turns it up, and they've got enough gems for a turn-in. Do they want to start the boss with it? It looks like it's more just focused on getting this initial turn-in.
Yeah, once they have all of the waves pushed up, then they could always go back, and if they have a huge advantage, if they've taken out a couple people, then get the boss for the next turn-in too.
Tempo Storm, they're playing it a bit like Dig. Less lethal early on. Definitely not as much, hook combos, but they lose a little bit on the early game. They wait for the major objectives. The only thing is now is they need to just get pick on pick on pick. Because Dignitas, that's the reason why it looks so clean, is every time they get an objective up, they just make it to where it's like, well, you're going to sit here and defend while anybody shows elsewhere on the map. You're dead. And it's like, we can't stop that. Immediately insta-gives. And we've got 14 seconds until we find ourselves another hook opportunity here for Tempo.
Thankfully for Even in Death, they have, okay, instantly a Crystal Aegis as Volley comes out of this, but Cattle is just going to pick it up. Frozen X from the side in Tombs. They're going to try to save Lutano, and they nearly do. Great Condemn from the side from Battery.
And the Rain of Vengeance over it. Nice drag from Fury on to How to Win. He is going to go down. Cattle got condemned in, ticking away the heals of June. Cattle, or Cawthon, excuse me, actually teleporting.
Twilight, oh, helping hand too.
That was a beautiful save, but Homicidal's not done. That was one reset. Look at Fury. Not, wow, the absolute champion there. Completely on the backline that entire fight. And just, he's the only one standing here. That was such a unique fight for Tempo and for Even in Death.
That was very crazy. The use of the Entomb to stop, yeah, let's just watch it again. I like this. So this has already happened. They use the Entomb. Crystal Aegis immediately. There it is. It's going to come out. She comes out of the side. So that Entomb was really perfect, but Lutano still went low and it did not get the heal in a time.
And then look at Fury. He comes in. That's the first pick he gets. Everybody on the side of Tempo Storm is so low. June's just like, can I get the heals out? Baits the Dragon Blade, teleports. Then the Twilight Dream with the helping hand to survive. And again, Fury, casually, he's like, well, there's another pick. Homicidal, you wanna come hang out with the Dino? I'll take that pick as well. Fury by himself got 3 kills in that fight alone.
He's got 39 gems. Caught by an Entomb. Nice. Follow up too with the Rain and Dimensional Shift, or the Detainment Strike, but still, it's Fury. It's Dahaka. He stays alive with the Burrow.
He does stay alive with the Burrow. 16 has been closing in the experience here, and Tempo's got another Web Weaver phase. This is not looking good. Even in Death, they will be lucky if all 3 of their keeps stand after this point. It's starting through bottom. We see the collapse. It was Pulverized build. There's a Gravity Lapse was wasted, but Twilight Dream's still here and the root will be there. If they had Gravity Lapse, that would have been a dead Battery.
Not using Twilight Dream yet.
They survive for now. Tempo Storm rotates out. They're going to go through mid. Now that's going to be the focus. Can they get a hook play here? 15 is almost picked up for Even in Death. That's still a whole level that they want to try and collapse. And moving out here is maybe not the best focus for them.
Still, Even in Death have protected all of their keeps. Tempo Storm hanging out for a little while in the mid has cost them the ability to get one of the keeps down with this turn-in phase. Siege up around mid. They still have the 16 advantage. They still have hook threats, Gravity Lapse threats.
This is one of the few compositions where you can get away with that, just because, again, you have stitches. If you dance around for hours on end, eventually one of those hooks has to land. And it's just banking on that happening pre-16. But Gilly, hate to say it, this is the exact same thing that we expected to see out of Tempo Storm, that we feared to see at MSB, and we thought maybe it's just a land thing because it was past it was. But that was very slow play once again for them. And against a team like Even in Death, now if that was Gale Force, I understand the respect, but again, because that was Even in Death, I thought for sure we would see them just go in and try and force the fight.
Gorge, Roots again, Homicidal, good night, goodbye. Genji is already out. Ice Block to save June.
Does the shield even miss there? Drag is not going to be needed. How to win with the Aegis. Flame Strike's going to lock that one down. They have enough for a gems for a turn-in with the Web Weaver phase. They've got the boss going to be started here. This is now the, I don't want to say 100% keep play for Tempo, but I feel like this is the one I can say that they could pretty much AFK and this keep is still going to go down.
Yeah, you've got boss, you've got Web Weavers behind it. Should be enough pressure to take out that top keep. We'll have Ariel back in 13 seconds for the 16 fight, the battle for this game for Even in Death.
The night pressure out through mid. It looks like Tempo Storm's going to respect that with Kel'Thas transitioning outward. Li Ming is still yet to show herself up on top. She had to back, so she's going to be slow. Hook attempt out. The boss up into the keep front wall. We've got another hook available in 10 seconds. Dahaka He's questioning when does he want to burrow. The boss already below 50% threshold. The keep is now going to be the focus. Hook misses.
Full Web Weaver still behind this boss. Keep halfway down. Homicidal getting into the back line. Has to dive away, way too far away from the team to be able to confidently continue to the attack.
Tempo Storm now looks like they're going on through mid. Bottom Web Weaver's healthy enough. They should be able to poke and stall this out. Hook is available. It's thrown out. Interrupted, actually. Soft reset there, so 10 seconds. The Entomb actually blocking the members of Tempo Storm in. The Detainment Strike against the wall. The damage going into Homicidal, but he lives. That is the lack of initiation on the side of Even Death I was talking about before. With Leo, with JoJo. They're Entomb and Blessed Shield, and then past that, nothing matters. Frozen X got hooked in, and immediate gravity lapse means no Wraith Walk, Gilly.
Nope. They have lost their Leoric. They have lost 2 keeps, but Even in Death still has 1 keep left. And they're still in the game, but they are desperate for a fight right now. Once Frozen X is back up, he's trying to keep tabs, trying to keep slows on the members of Tempo Storm because Tempo Storm are so close to 20, and that is a 3-level lead against Even in Death. That's going to be very difficult for them to try to do anything with, especially because they don't have enough to try to just force a turn in right now. Tempo Storm knows they can just wait till 20.
Yeah, Tempo's going to be able to wait out the 20. The gems are near even. The only silver lining left for Even in Death is the fact that the waves are pushed against them, which should allow them to close the gap into the 60 gems faster. That, again, it's a bit of a stretch when it comes to silver linings, but that's all they got. They can get the gems a little bit faster. They may be able to sneak in and turn in immediately, but the fact that they are already not hovering, looking for that channel, and that bottom giant camp has been captured, essentially is going to concede all that of options.
Flamethrower with Fury of the Sunwell and Burned Flesh now makes Kael'thas a fiery machine. He can siege. He is so terrifying, especially with that range. See how far away that is and getting 2 of those. 2 of the flame strikes. Oh, Iron Skin used to stop the hook.
Drag miss. Genji dashes up. There's the Entomb. That's already Frozen X going down, but it's just a Leo. That's okay. Hanwin with too much pressure onto him, though, forcing the Aegis, and that is going to be worst case. He cannot go down, but he does. Another reset for Coffin.
And meanwhile, Homicidal was in the backline doing what he could, but it just wasn't enough for the team. All of Tempo Storm is safe, healthy, and ready to end the game as they go after Battery, dropping him. Only Genji is left. Frozen X will be back soon, but likely not to the effect they would like, which is to save the game. Tempo Storm march on to the core in game 1.
I believe Frozen X coming back to life. I'm going to be honest, he went away faster than it took him to come back to life, sadly. Even in Death goes down for game number 1 here. But Tempo Storm, I'm gonna put it this way, Gilly. I just as a big question, was it as dominant as you wanted? Was it what you wanted from Tempo Storm?
What I wanted?
Yeah.
It's hard to say for Tempo because the one point that it seemed like they could have pushed their advantage was at 16 when they were at the keep, and instead they pulled back. They didn't push at that keep. But then again, they knew they had the gems behind it. They knew, I believe at that point, that they could still go get the boss too. So it wasn't like they necessarily had to.
Yeah, it's one of those, you can't totally blame them for pulling away because as long as you're rotating to get another major objective, it's like, is that totally worth? You could make a heavy argument in both directions. I agree. It was slow, but it was slow enough or fast enough that it was like you can't totally be like, you know what, that was not enough pressure here or there. I agree that it was not exactly what I wanted, but I don't feel like we can get the blame. But if I even see signs of that, again, only because of the team, Even in Death, I feel like if you're going to take those risks and learn that playstyle, this is the one team where you just all in, right? And you just go, well, we wiped this fight, but at least we have a big enough lead. We're a good enough team. If we win, like, you only risk 1 game.
It may have been a product of the Battleground, Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah.
It may have been a product of the particular draft, the fact that they are playing Stitches, and we haven't seen too much